Computer Bible code software research and development is moving at light-year speed, yet it will be years before the full extent of what the Bible code has to tell us is fully known. The new matrix decoding systems, combined with translation software, lexicons, and dictionary searches, open up the strong possibilities that people may be able to find themselves and/or future events in the Bible code.
Certainly it seems harmless enough, but the original code researchers warn that even though the computer makes it easy, the process is complex, and the results could easily be misinterpreted.
The worst thing that could happen is that some people might interpret what they find in the Bible code as commandments, telling them what to do. But nothing of that nature can or even should be inferred.
But in spite of the inherent complexities of knowing too little about too much and drawing unwarranted conclusions from them, code researchers and critics alike have found a great deal to ponder in the code research. For many, it has meant a re-examination of long-held but forgotten beliefs. For others, a strengthening of their faith. And for still others, it is just another shot fired in the long war between religionists and humanists. But since even much of the plain surface text of the Bible is still being debated, it should not surprise us that opening the time lock that has sealed the ELS codes for so many centuries has raised some controversy.
I believe God, in his prophetic foreknowledge, knew that our generation would be the most skeptical and the most scientific and computer literate generation in history. And therefore, I believe, knowing this, he has provided one last measure of evidence to our generation so that our generation would be without excuse.
I think if the Bible codes are demonstrated to be real and valid, then in fact both Jews and Christians will have to re-examine their texts and see truly how they impact on their lives.
What are the implications to the world if the Bible code is real? It's hard to say. People believe what they want to believe. People do really what they want to do. One would like to believe that if people took the Bible more seriously, there would be less crime, there would be less hurt, there would be less wars. Everyone would love each other as a human being. I hope it would make a big difference.
I think the fact is the world will ignore much of the information. It's ignored important lessons in the past. However, the message will be, examine how you run your life.
I think the implications for Christianity of the Bible codes, to the extent they get increasingly validated and people begin to realize what they are staggering, because we're long overdue as Christians in taking the Bible seriously. The great tragedy is that most Christians have no comprehension of how reliable and how authoritative our Bible really is. And the Bible codes are exciting, if for no other reason. They cause people to realize that we have something in our hands that's more than simply a collection of colorful legends and moral principles. There's something far more profound in our hands.
For both Jews and Christians alike, it gives us solid scientific evidence that the Bible, which is the Bible for both of our religions, is not the product of a human hand. I think that's very important.
If the Bible codes are what they appear to be, evidence of authentication that this collection of 66 books, in fact, comes from an ultimate author, that implies that we have a destiny for which we are going to be accountable. And deep down inside, that's discomforting.
The Israeli mathematician who discovered the Bible code, Dr. Rips, thinks that we have found only the first and simplest level of a code that is probably far more complex and far beyond our reach. As a mathematician, his assumption is that if we find this clearer pattern, there is almost certainly a much larger pattern. But we don't yet have the mathematical tools or perhaps the technology to see it.
Rips has devised a measure which goes into 2 dimensions, whereas the original Torah truly is only one-dimensional. It's a one-dimensional text, it's just a sequence of letters going from beginning to end. Who knows but that a 3-dimensional measure might not work even better, or 4 or 5. Who knows how many dimensions there are to the Torah in terms of this code.
The discovery of the Bible codes is one of the most exciting events in history. For the first time, there is actually widely accepted scientific proof that the Bible is truly supernatural.
I knew I was on to something of real importance. It was the happiest time of my life.
You can't escape the fact that these things are beyond the realm of just accidental curiosities. They're there by design.
What we have exposed is that there is a hidden text in the Torah, and what we see is that in this text, the future, present, and past are all encoded, and thus it encompasses all things.
The good news is that some intelligence cared enough about us to leave us these warnings, to give us this information. That's very good news indeed. The question now is, what are we going to do with it? That's entirely up to us.
In a world that has grown skeptical, even hostile toward the Word of God, the Bible Code has built a bridge between science and religion and forced a re-examination of the ancient truths held sacred by millions of people. The Code also seems to be generating a new awareness of the divinity of the Scriptures among individuals of all faiths. This fact alone could make the Bible Code discovery the most important event of the modern era. Because if we really understand that the Bible is the Word of God, we are in possession of God's own saving truth.